The most important part of the Celtics' elite offense is something most people don't really pay attention to. Boston's offense is predicated on finding the best possible matchups, but in order to get to those matchups, they have to set perfect screens. There are so many little details that go into setting these screens. Joe Mazzulla even once said,
"Usually when you see a good possession, the right screen is set, and when you see a bad one, we usually don't set the right one."
So in order to better understand the Celtics screening, I talked to Luke Kornet about what goes into them. One of the most important points is recognizing what coverage the other team is in. From there, the Celtics know what their initial game plan is, but they're also ready to adjust.
At certain points, it's like recognition. It's like, oh, we're playing this type of team. They usually try to maintain. And so, like, you kind of know what types of screens are going to be set that game until they adjust. And then it's just kind of that next filter thing.
This game's a perfect example of what Luke said. At the start of the game, Karl-Anthony Towns was dropping back, which left Tatum space to pull up from three. So Kornet set the screen accordingly. But later in the game, as the Knicks changed their coverage, Kornet recognized this, rolled, and then was able to find an open shooter because Karl-Anthony Towns pressed up to stop Tatum from pulling up. Then there's recognizing coverages and countering them.
Especially if, like, you've just gotten, like, multiple reps and we've had success attacking against it. And you kind of know what they're going to be trying to do, therefore, so, like, what counters are kind of going to be available.
In this game, the Thunder brought their big up a lot to put pressure on Jason Tatum. So as a counter, Kornet recognized this and set a second screen so Tatum can go back over and get a pull-up three. And here's another example of the counters Kornet's talking about.
As the game goes on, it's kind of like settled into a way to be where they decide they're going to adjust, so they're going to keep trying to do that thing well. And so then you're figuring out what the next layer of playing, if that is kind of like what that level of advantage to create.
In this game, the Lakers didn't have a center, so they wanted to keep LeBron James in the paint to act as that rim protector. So when Kornet saw Dorian Finney-Smith go under the screen the first time, he set a second one higher up on the body so DFS would have to go over. This left Tatum plenty of space to attack LeBron downhill. Kornet also has to pay attention to what guys like what types of screen. For Jaylen Brown, it's all about getting the defender in the right position on his body.
JB, a lot of times it's like getting guys on a certain position on his body so that he can kind of just physically hold them there.
So right here, as he's setting the screen for JB, he makes sure to hold off Garland long enough so that he ends up on JB's back. That way, when JB gets to the paint against him, he's able to just rise up over him because the Kornet screen set it up that way. But JT likes to work with screens differently. While Brown likes to attack guards, Tatum likes to attack bigs. Because of this, the Celtics big setting the screen has to know what the opposing big is doing.
JT obviously is his own thing, and just kind of like based on where the pickup points, based on like what he's kind of succeeded against and what, like, you know, the big is kind of looking like.
In the Cavs game, Tatum wanted to attack Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, so Horford had to set the screen so he would take Donovan Mitchell out of the play completely, leaving Jason Tatum in a one-on-one. And for Celtics fans who want to see Kornet shoot more threes, that's probably not going to happen. But that's only because the Celtics have focused on turning Kornet's ability to get to the three-point line into his ability to set up his teammates. And he explained that process to me.
A lot of times how I got shots early in my career was like just being able to manipulate screens was how my way to create separation. So now it's just kind of like extending that for myself as like slips and rollers, and that's where it comes to like finding shooters, even just like knowing the positioning of everything and trying to create that initial advantage.
Instead of slipping out to the three-point line in these plays, Kornet rolls at the right time, creating space for either a kick-out three or an open shooter because the defender had to abandon their post to cover the roll. Screening is such an essential part of the Celtics offense for getting mismatches and creating open looks, and Kornet and the rest of the Celtics bigs have absolutely mastered the art.